Paul is bad at stuff includes being a VTuber, so it's fine. It's such an easy way to just have carte blanche to do whatever the hell you want, because you just say you're bad at stuff and no one can complain that it's bad. I warned you. I pre-warned you.
I have to say, I'm good at playing these, and they'll be like, I went through 3 hours of your videos and I found you made a mistake. Ooh.
Yeah, if you're bad at something, you go, and you admit your mistakes, they go, yeah, that was a mistake. And you go, oh, I've told you.
That is Paul is bad at stuff explaining how he gets away with mistakes by being always bad at stuff. I am Christian von Carmian, and I'm usually very good at stuff, but mistakes are not forgiven. In the previous version of this video, one such mistake was listening to Paul, where he thought it would be funny if I let my hatred of centurions overwhelm me to censor out the words with bleeps.
Just anytime I say centurions are good, you just censor it out as if I said the worst thing ever.
I haven't really changed my mind on centurions, but this remake will have the word muted instead of me going through every distraction sound in the audio library. A remake of this video? Why, yes! This is an updated version with more information on how Crusade works, as well as why we think it is one of, the best way to play 40k. Welcome to the BloodBald podcast. I take the blood, Paul keeps the bald, and we may never play BloodBald the game from which our name is derived. And today is all about Crusade, the narrative add-on to 40k. Do you find there's many people to talk about Crusade with?
Not particularly, apart from obviously my group of friends. Crusade is interesting because I don't think people know about it, but they don't really play it because they don't really get into the weeds of it. It is a lot to kind of chuck at someone, especially when you start looking through all of all the paperwork essentially you have to do before and after a game.
The spreadsheeting, yeah.
Yeah.
I made a little Crusade one-page thing of this is just where you track everything. You stick your enhancements in this box, you stick your kills in this box, it's all tallied and easy to do, and people can get that if they are in my Discord, which I know you are.
I feel like it's similar with D&D. Once you understand it, it becomes kind of second nature.
But you do need someone to take you through it the first time.
You need someone to take you through it, and then it's like with D&D, it's like, oh yeah, the proficiency bonus plus text plus, and you just kind of know it off by heart. And now it's like every time the game, it's like, okay, we need to roll for battle scars, blah, 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 and it kind of gets easier. But it's one of those ones where it's like, and again, this is something I think with a lot of 40k or a lot of Warhammer or war games in general, is people don't have that much time to play. So when they play what they know, and going outside of that is tricky because that's a time investment people might not have.
Yeah, and it was so much worse in 9th edition, because 9th edition had piles of rules anyway, and then you add on the Crusade rules on top of that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's all of that extra stuff on a game that people are already struggling to get their head around.
Yeah.
And they're not playing it that often, and especially because because I play it with a group of friends, we're all into it, which is fine. But if you don't have that local group, then it's more tricky to get a Crusade going because you need several players to do it, and then you have to coordinate games between them, which you would anyway. But then it's like, if you've played the same person over and over again, you're kind of skewing your army if you don't limit that, if you see what I mean.
Yes.
If you and someone else keep playing over and over again, then you're going to get so much XP that you're going to outscale everything.
Although the Crusade I've been in with my Deathwatch is, there was 5 of us at the start, which was Eldar, Votan, 2 Necron players and me. The Votan player dropped off after about 2 games, the Eldar player dropped off after about 2 other games, so I'm fighting Necrons, it's just me and Necrons. Necron in the middle of a Necron civil war.
Yeah, the way we've had to do it is basically say each kind of phase we'll play each other once. It's 2v2v2, so we play 4 games per phase. And it takes months to get through because obviously we're adults and busy and just trying to get those games in, which is fine. It's one of those things where I think having a Crusade as that kind of background thing where you all kind of are encouraged to play together is good. And then when you're playing the same person over and over, you just don't do Crusade, you do other things, and that's fine. Mm-hmm. So it is a nice way to go, oh, I'm in a Crusade, I should play you at some point, rather than just going and playing the same person over and over.
There's Crusade weekend. Sometimes people do okay, just these 2 days, every game we play is a Crusade game, and you do or 1-day events that are double XP. That can also work. And you can see how far you get in your Crusade after 4 or 5 games. Otherwise, 5 weeks campaigns, assuming you play once a week, that works okay. But that's kind of about the limit. If you're playing maybe once or twice a month. You're probably still going through the Leviathan mission deck,
Oh,
book. Yeah.
Yeah, we have not reached Pariah Nexus yet. We're still in Leviathan. We've looked at Pariah Nexus, and it's one of those ones where it's like, do we just kind of cut the losses now and just move on? But there's been a lot of stuff going on in people's lives, so we've kind of not played any. Yeah, I think across all of our games, we've played all of them but one, because the one mission we haven't played is the weird one that we don't really want to play at the moment because it's a bit too skewed. I've played...
Which
I must have played most of them now. It's the very last one. It's the running away one. Rooted Prey. The one where one team, the defenders start in a zone and then they get to move, and then all of the attackers have to be in reserves and then come on at like turn 2.
Yeah, I found that one quite fun actually.
Yeah, it's one that looks fun, but our problem is it's like it feels like it's so different to all the others. We kind of want to play, I guess, regular ones first to kind of get used to it. And it's one of the ones where it feels like it's a really good theatrical one to play for a very specific reason. I think for me, it would actually be really good because I'm currently heavily losing in the Crusades. So it would be a really good one for me to play as the defender. While the others, you kind of can work the narrative around them. That one feels like...
play in narrative games, it's shocking.
I know, exactly. That feels like one, if you rolled that as the very first one, you're like, hang on, with Rooted Prey, we've only just started. We've just landed on the planet. Hang on, how are we rooted already? Calm down.
Routed.
So, yeah.
Routing is what happens to electricity. Routing is what happens when you run away.
Yes, I'm bad at words.
You're bad at words, but you do all the science and electricity and computer stuff, so it's understandable that you'd pick Rooted.
Every so often, you see something like someone has resigned or someone has re-signed, and they don't put the hyphen in it, and you go, well, hang on, those are very, very different meanings. Yes. One is they've left, and one is they're staying. Like, what is the... Like, words are scary, which is why I play Warhammer, because that's all numbers.
Yeah, then it's okay with VTubers, because it's just they graduated, and we have to know that means they left.
Graduated, yes. Heavy quotation marks.
Right, what point size do you normally play for, like, your Crusade games? Because I'm mostly do 1,000 points, then it's not as much to track. You can do, like, several games in a session.
We found... So, obviously, you start at 1,000 anyway, right?
Yes.
So, you build your list at 1,000 and you slowly grow over time. When we've grown the lists, we then grow the game sizes. Because what happens is... You have 1,000 points, which you build as, like, a very standard 1,000 points. Because you don't really want to make a skew list at that point, because... it's difficult to get out of that if you make a very heavily skewed list that just gets kicked every so often, all the time. So you've got a standard list, then you build up. The problem is if you then go back to 1,000, if you've got a 2,000 point roster, you go back to 1,000 points, suddenly you can really start skewing things. So I played a game against two like Norn emissaries, or a Norn emissary and a Norn assimilator in 1,000 points, and I brought things that couldn't really take it. And it was like...
But what about the...
That was the problem. I hadn't got my list at that point. Again, 1,000 points.
Yes.
Yeah, and 1,000 points I couldn't bring the Storm Raven, so it was essentially it's a skill issue, but also I'm salty.
Right.
But it's also it's one of those things, because we play infrequently, we don't generally play multiple games a day or have kind of those times to do it. Having the bigger games is more fun. We get to play with more toys. If we were to start it again, if we were to do a new campaign, we'd probably say like phase 1 is 1,000 points, phase 2 is 1,500, phase 3 is 2,000, and really kind of like be more regimented with it to really make sure that you understand how the scaling's going to work, so you can potentially say, oh, I don't need to like rush to 2,000 points in my roster. I can invest some of my requisition points in other things.
Like rearming and resizing
resizing units, that kind of thing. But obviously, I knew...
at the very start of the game, it's like...
Yeah, at the very start of the game, you're not going to put 380 points worth of... Well, I would, because I'm insane. But if I have the option of putting 3 in and then increasing it to 6 later, that makes a lot more sense. It's a lot easier, especially because you kind of keep the upgrades as you go that way. And you're adding things to units, then you're basically getting more bang for your buck by adding in models into those units.
Because it's like, hey, so we've got some new people, and somehow we've managed to train them to the exact same level in a day.
Scout 9 inches, you will just have to learn to run quickly at the very start, and then you'll be out of breath for a while.
Scout 9 inch. Wow, that's fun.
I had a jump captain and my Vanguard vets with Scout 9 inches, which was great because essentially they had a 21-inch move from the start plus charge, and then they got a battle scar, which made them lose the charge bonus to have OC 0, making them entirely worthless. I was like, that's the one scar I didn't want. So I had to get rid of the Scout 9, and then I rolled it again.
Yeah, because you can choose to just remove a good thing rather than take a bad scar.
Right, yeah, right. I don't know. We've been playing it where you get to see what the scar is first. I don't know if that's the actual rules written, but it is nicer that way, so you can actually decide whether you want to or not to take that scar. Especially because the scars are a little bit...
They're really nasty. They can be really nasty.
Yeah, they're either really nasty or they're basically nothing. That's
depends on the unit that gets it. Because if it's like, oh, you can't join characters, it's like, well, I'm a lone operative. I don't care about joining units. If you're Genestealer Cult,
yes, I have that got the you can't have a character join you. Oh no, there are no characters unless I have my own way. So what are you going to do? But then you have ones which are just like this. You have basically just made the unit completely worthless.
Yeah, you're meant to choose your devastating blow and remove a thing, or you take a battle scar and roll dice.
So we played it the other way around because having that, being able to make that choice can be quite strategic sometimes, because some of them are like Disgraced is pretty good in terms of like, can't use stratagems, can't be marked for greatness. You could see a world where that's not that bad. Obviously, losing stratagems sucks, but then you might be like, I'd rather keep the upgrade I've got on them. And then in other times you go, actually, my plan with these guys revolves around a certain stratagem. I want to actually keep that and I'll take away the upgrade. So whilst it's not rules as written, that's how we've played it. And I think it's a little bit kind of more open. Again, this is a nice thing about Crusade. You can kind of do, and with, I guess, any Warhammer outside of like tournament play, you can kind of do this kind of stuff.
Which is nice, especially nice. But Crusade is more founded on we do what we want in the way we want it. It's our Crusade version.
Yes, exactly.
So,
and
my Exorcist that has crippling damage and can't advance. Oh no, my static weapons platform. How will it cope?
There was someone who got Von Ryan Leapers, got the crippling damage, so they can't advance and have to subtract 1 for moves, which is not great for something like a Von Ryan Leaper. But then on the other hand, sometimes you get like you can't form attached units, and you can't be affected by auras. Oh no, I have no auras that affect this unit. Oh well.
Especially on like tanks and vehicles, stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's fine.
I think when we play Crusade, there's a lot more like discussing narrative stuff as well. There is definitely points where you go, this is the correct course of action. Like, this is the most strategic play. However,
my troll slayer needs to fight the trolls.
I'm the Screaming Ravens. I'm going to be the attacker every single time. Even when the attacker like option in a mission is a lot harder than the defender, I always feel like I need to be the attacker. And it's one of those things where it's like, I could do the smart thing, and I feel like with Crusade, it's one of those things where it's like, I'm going to lean into that more.
I mean, the tournament you're going to, it allows Legends units, which is nice. So if your end up disappearing off to Legends, you could still use them there. And, in Crusade games and everywhere else. Yeah,
I'm hoping that they don't. Again, it's one of those things like when Gabriel Seth went to Legends, and it's like, I mean, unless you're going to a tournament, if you have Gabriel Seth and you're playing with your friends, I'm sure it'll be fine. Like, one of the players in our Crusade is using Legends units.
Shocking and horrible.
I think it's one of the Chimera. Was it Chimera options?
I mean, that's weird. And then there's like Imperial Armor, which is not Legends, but is very similar.
Yes, I always get confused by that because I was like, he's using like 5 Legends things, but no, it's like he's using some Imperial Armor things and then 1 Legends thing, and it's all confusing. It's fine. I think it's one of those things where with Crusade, you're kind of going in. People say you go in with the knowledge that things might be unbalanced. And that is true.
I think so.
And you kind of have to go with that mindset. That isn't to say I don't think that Crusade has some balance issues, but it is one of those things we have to kind of think about. Like, it is going to be unbalanced, and obviously they try and make it a bit fairer, but it's one of those things where sometimes it is still potentially frustrating when you are going against something which is way better than you, especially when it comes to stuff like weapon upgrades on tanks, where one weapon upgrade on a tank is insanely good because it's...
Oh, was it the Lancer? The Gladiator Lancer has a defensive profile, which is 1 gun, but it's like 50 shots. Having +1 damage to that is...
add a damage, and it's one of those things where it's... Because, like, I had a Brutalis with, like, +1 damage, +1 attack with his multi-melter, or +1 damage and +1 AP on his claws, so he's got, like, 4 damage claws. But then you can't do that with a unit.
Because it's an upgrade for 1 model, the Squad Sergeant.
Which is nowhere near as good. But then in the Space Marine Codex, you have, like, this unit gets +1 weapon skill or +1 ballistic skill, which is amazing. But you get that plus something else on a lot of tanks. And when you have, and in our Crusade, it's a very tank and monster heavy Crusade. So there's a lot of that going around. The Knight player has some absurd stuff.
Oh, at least it costs double for the Knight stuff.
It does cost double.
This is 2 points, but still.
And that kind of leads on to the thing that I don't like, which is actually the Crusade Blessings. They're not good. My opinion, obviously. You need so much disparity between the Crusade points to get such a meager buff.
Ah, them bits.
So it's like you need a difference of 10 to 19 Crusade point difference to get 2 blessings, right? For Knights, that's essentially they get 5 weapon upgrades. And you get 2 CP and an extra agenda. And it's like, oh. Or it's like you can have 10 battle scars and you get 2 CP and an agenda.
Yeah, I do take the other stance on Crusade Blessings, because I remember it in 9th edition where if someone came in with a brand new army and you had a decent Crusade force, well, for every 2 points difference in Crusade level, then you get an extra command point. So the new player would be like, I start the game with 10 command points.
Yeah.
And 9th edition command points and stratagems were crazy. It's like, oh, I do this and that explodes.
Yeah.
And now it's over there. Yeah.
I think that's like I didn't play Crusade in Knights, but that's clearly like this is the wrong side of balance for having the blessings be way too good. I feel like this in 10th, again, not having the perspective, I feel like this is the other way. But to be fair, we've never really had anything go beyond 5 Crusade points in difference anyway.
So that gives you one blessing.
And you get 1 blessing, and you're going to take the 2 CP because that's probably the nicest. Because CP generation's a bit trickier because you don't have cards you can get rid of. So having that extra CP in the bank is always nice. But yeah, it always felt like when you look at it and kind of just compare, it's like, okay, you can have a big Titanic Knight with 5 weapon upgrades, or you can have 2 CP and you get some extra XP if you kill anything. Well, you're not going to kill anything, or you're not going to survive anything, because the Knight has so many upgrades. So it's 2 CP, sort of brilliant, and that's kind of you expect it to be unbalanced, but there is, I think, potential changes there. That's Tyrannic War. I don't know about Pariah Nexus. Maybe they're better.
It uses...
Oh, look, because I know there's also this kind of strategic footing thing as well, which sounds quite interesting.
Oh, yeah, that's quite fun, where you pick if you're attacker or defender, and then it's like a rock, paper, scissors thing. Yeah,
very kill team. You start in different, like, defensive, offensive or something, and then it's, again, rock, paper, scissors. So yeah, 2 CP... I mean, funny enough, the very first one for Crusade Blessings in Pariah Nexus is until the start of the second back round. If that unit is wholly within your deployment zone, it has benefits of cover. Well, I play Vanguard Spearhead. I get benefits of cover over 12 inches anyway, so that is literally nothing. But again, that's just because of the army I play. Yeah, they're very similar.
Yeah, also battle round to movement on your infantry and walkers.
I mean, it's not. It's like, okay, 2 CP and +1 inch to movement on your infantry and walkers. It's like, okay, that's pretty good. The Knight player gets extra damage on its autocannons with an extra AP. It's got its stubbers have like 2 damage. It's got all this other stuff across its army. You just go, okay, well, that extra 1 inch of movement is just going to make me get to them quicker and die.
You know, I'm thinking it might not be the Crusade that's the problem, but the Knights.
It might be.
Knights
again, I guess that's the thing, right? And again, this is where I think the kind of Crusade Blessings aren't so much a trap, but it's one of those things where if you're in that range where you're getting when you're getting 2 Crusade Blessings, you should maybe change the armies, because if it's let's say it's an Imperial Guard army, well, 10 Crusade points difference is 10 upgrades on tanks. So you could have like 10 Lehman Russes, all of them with +1 damage, +1 AP or something, and you're like, okay, that versus 2 CP and...
But if you put it on the Guard Infantry instead, and it's like, oh, I have a las pistol that's damage 2.
That's the thing, then it's like, okay, then you go, okay, well then Crusade points aren't made equal, right? We go back to the Battle Scars, right?
Yep.
Oh, that Battle Scar is nothing, but it has taken away a CP, a Crusade point. So now my army is technically worse, but actually it's in no different state.
One thing I never did is now no longer an option for me.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, generally, I think outside of the kind of outlier cases where there's massive differences, we've not really had a problem with it. It's just when you look at it and kind of think about it, like theoretically, you go, okay, there is definitely a skew option there.
This and you could
really start to cause problems.
Which is why I think it's good that at the end of the battle, you sit with your opponent and you randomly roll your upgrades and stuff.
Yeah, so we kind of do, for most of them, we've done choices, because I think it is nice to... I think what we would probably do, change is make it random, Because when you get to choose, you can really like skew stuff.
For the choices, it's like if there's a good narrative reason for it to happen. Like my Inquisitor got deep scars because she got shot by like the last cultist that was on the board, and it was like, that's humiliating. You can keep that one.
Yeah. Or, you know, everything has Scout 9 inches because I'm the Screaming Ravens. That's what we do.
That works.
And then but I think weapon modifications, I think is one of the ones where I usually roll them because they're all pretty good. Like, there's not really one that you would be like, oh, I don't really want that. If you roll 2, you're usually going to get something pretty happy.
Yeah, they were, I think, even more powerful in 9th edition because one of them was an extra 6-inch range, which sounds fine. Then you think of Inferno pistols. And now you can fire your Inferno pistols from deep strike because they're in range. And actually, they are +1 to hit as well.
There's definitely some things like that still in, and again, it's one of those ones where you're adding, it's already a complex game, you're adding stuff to, and you want it to be called a narrative, but then you realize, that Titan is now lone operative, and I can't shoot him unless I'm within 12 inches, and you go, that's the one with all the auto cannons, which are really scary, or the battle cannons. And now I need to get close to it with things that move 4 inches. It's okay though, I've got a Storm Raven, which I can't hide anywhere because it's too bloody big. It just gets shot out of the sky. I don't think I've taken that one down. I took down another knight recently, like another big knight. Now that I've got the Devastators in there, they are very good at taking down knights.
Regular Devastators
really. Obviously. Anytime I say anything that could be they're insane. I brought them in pretty late into our Crusade, and they've played 3 games, and they're already at like 16 or 17 experience.
I assume you're always like, I mark you for greatness.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Mark them for greatness, and just the fact that they go, okay, especially again, this is the other part of Knights is, I've shot you. Well, you're a vehicle and a character and your warlord. Okay, well, I've just gained 8 points from 1 kill. It's like, good. All right, we'll move on. And then it's just like, you're just getting 1 kill and getting 8 points, or tank commanders as well, similar. You're a vehicle and a character. Take those agendas, and then suddenly you're just like, okay, I'm gonna aim my 6 las cannons at you. Oh, you're dead. The rockets are going over here. Oh, that unit's dead. 12 experience, please.
It's a lot. You can get almost 2 levels up in a go.
Yep. Very, very nice that way. This is the thing with Crusade. I think this is the thing that they like the idea of, and I think people do this kind of stuff in non-Crusade games where they talk about the narrative and their characters and their units that are like certain things. But it's nice to be able to then kind of codify that. Like my Tech Marine, which survived 2 shots from a Tyrannofex just straight up by rolling 2 6s on the save, was just like, okay, now he has like a 5 of invuln, an extra wound, an extra toughness. Yep. So he just gets stronger and tougher because he just will not die. So it's nice to be like, this guy doesn't die.
Yeah, you go, it's very
now he's
thematic.
got the stats. Yeah, and that's the best thing with Crusade is even when you lose, there's something you can always take away from it.
I think
and
I
sometimes
mentioned that
it's
in
really
my Crusade
bad.
video as well.
Yeah. Sometimes it's really bad and you don't want to have to make your Vanguard vets literally worthless, but sometimes it is one of the things where it is really cool and there's always something you can do, and there's that narrative, and the narrative is always fun, even like you don't have to go, I lost. Well, that's the end of that. You go, I lost. That's the narrative. I can now kind of explore other things and use other creative options.
If it's like you've got some Inquisitors there, it's like, I lost. However, the Inquisitor was able to do their agenda, and I was able to destroy the Chaos Cult behind this attack.
Exactly.
So I was merely the distraction.
Yes. Yeah, you may have won the battle, but I have won the war. It's a lot of that. And it's very cool. Yeah. Collaborative storytelling. Again, I mentioned D&D before. It's like D&D. It's collaborative storytelling, which I love. And playing the Dungeon Master, I'm used to losing a lot. So it's absolutely fine.
I wouldn't call it losing, because I've done like DMing and stuff before, and I think of it more, I describe myself as I am the narrator rather than the enemy.
I like to think that, but every so often I'm like, nah, I just want to kill these buggers. That's it. I don't want to get rid of them. No, I'm not usually like that. But it's one of those ones where it's like there's always a slight, at least with our group, there's always a slightly this antagonistic DM versus player, but it's not really that. I'm always rooting for the players. I'm making the story for them.
Well, yeah. If it's like everyone died, it'd be like, well, I'm just gonna rip these pages out and throw them away.
I mean, I've TPK'd my fair share. Well, a couple of parties, and it's never fun, even when it's narratively there's an impact there. It's always one of the things where it's like, okay, now I have to kind of we have to make all new characters, redo everything. But with Crusade, at least, like it's not like when you lose a unit, they die forever.
Yeah,
that would be interesting.
One unit ever go because they just kept getting scars every time they died. It was I got a scar for them.
Yep. Yeah, I've had to swap a couple of things out, but it's always been the case where it's not ever been a detriment. Like I swapped out the Vanguard vets because they became useless, and I had to retune a few things.
Yeah, because you can just be like, and you are gone now, and I replace you with your identical brother.
I did that once where it's like I brought something in for the first time, they died, they got a scar, so I went, okay, well, either they gained 1 XP and a scar, or I just remove them from the list and just re-add them and go, okay, so they were actually decoys, here are the real ones who are coming in now.
Yeah, and you can change some units up, because there's quite a few like requisitions to alter units into other units. Have you done any of the like Oathsworn campaign stuff in Spaceman Codex?
I've done a couple of those. I also go for Precision Strike because it's the one. Basically, every time I go for the one which is if you. Let me actually read it. Each time an Adeptus Astartes unit from a Crusade army destroys an enemy unit within range of an objective marker in your opponent's deployment zone or no man's land with a melee attack, your Crusade point gain 1 honor point up to 5. I basically go for that one because that's my strategy. Is melee on objectives, which is really nice. Getting one of the best things in there is the chapter command stuff. The Tech Marine upgrade is insanely good. The Shielded by the Machine God, where you get a 4-up invuln on top of everything else. It's so nice when I go first, because I just go, okay, Storm Raven gets a 4-up invuln. Now it's much more safe.
You can have a Chief Apothecary, so they're as good as a Hospitaler, so they bring back models and give you a Feel No Pain. That was too much in 9th edition. It's not as bad this time round.
Yeah. Getting the points for these Oathsworn campaigns are difficult, though, because you only get 3 matches to do it. You can spend an RP, I think, to get a 4th match out of it.
And you really have to go hard on it with the agendas and things.
Yeah, because you get points for winning as well. So you really have to make sure that you get those agendas and win those games during the campaign. Because one of the campaigns I did, I got 0 points because I couldn't get any of the melee kills, and I just didn't win any, so I got 0 for it. And realistically, to get the Chapter Master upgrade, you need 25 points. So realistically, you need to go for a 4th one. Like say the like the promotion stuff is quite useful, turning things into other things.
But it's hard to get, which I suppose is the idea. You have to earn it, and then it's good forever.
The requisitions are really nice as well. There's one that allows you to take when a character gets a 2nd battle scar, you can replace it with a Dreadnought, which is awesome.
That's a fun
I really
one.
like that.
They used to have it, well, when they had more separation between Primaris and Firstborn units. In the last edition, it was like, oh, you could choose to change your Firstborn ones into Primaris, but roll a dice, and on a 1, they die in the process.
Oh, wow. Yeah, anything like that is a lot of fun. And I think, like from what I've read of other other codexes, like the Crusade rules are really nice, and they're really interesting. And I found that they haven't really... So obviously you get the base ones from like Pariah Nexus or Tyrannic War. Indexes don't have any Crusade rules, so if you're playing with a codex, you have that extra thing on top. But it never feels like it's too much. Like I don't feel like all the stuff I'm getting with... It always feels like it's side grades. There's never like, oh, you have the Space Marine Crusade
slightly
rules.
More flavourful option.
Yeah. They're all way better than the default ones in the book. No, they're all mostly side grades. And it's been to the fact where I've looked through like the Space Marine ones and gone, actually, I think the ones from the Tyrannic War book are better for this unit, like 9-inch Scout.
Yes.
I'm happy at least with the ones I've seen, the balance wise. Again, maybe in the future they make almost like, oh, if you're, I don't know, the Eldari Crusade book.
You had to pick Eldar.
It was the first one that came up on my head. Like Eldari, like Crusade book. Oh, if you have an Autarch, you can give them 5,000 extra wounds or something absurd. Like, I don't think they're ever going to do something like that. So it's always side grades, but you never know. They might bugger it up. You know what games are trouble like sometimes.
Paul has gone to get a drink from his favourite mug, so I will be here to tell you about the faction-specific Crusade campaigns of our favourite factions. By our favourite, I mean my favourite, but by now that should also be your favourites. The Adepta Sororitas. With the Adepta Sororitas, you pick a character to be your Saint Potentia, a potential saint. They should be a character that you are taking in all of your battles, but not one that you are too attached to. There is only one fate for living saints in the Imperium, and you follow that journey. The potential saint takes on the trials of faith one at a time and gets some cool battle traits. Saint battle traits replace other traits that the character may have if you reach the maximum. If you complete all of the different trials, then you become a living saint. This doesn't give you much extra, except you can get the legendary relic, the Sword of the Matriarch, which is exceptionally good at killing monsters that also have the character keyword. But you might not get there. After the battle, if you fail an out-of-action test for the Saint or potential Saint, you gain a martyr point and roll a dice, adding the number of martyr points you have. If the result is more than their leadership, you succeed and die. You are a martyr. The units you fought that last battle with get a lot of extra experience from witnessing the Saint's end. Then you start again with a new character, or a suspiciously similar looking character. Having your potential Saint die before they get there can happen quite often, as one of the trials to become a Saint encourages you to die in the battle to pass it. So, when you're doing the trials, I would start with that one. If you succeed, then the battle trait means that you're less likely to die in future, so that's a good upside. But this is a very slow campaign. You could consider it completed when you've done one of the Trials of the Saint. It is very focused around one model with not a lot for the other sister units, and death can be very ignoble. I think that the Saint path is the worst part of the Sororitas Crusade rules. The Adepta Sororitas also have access to more battle traits, relics, agendas and requisition, and the Hymns of Battle in White Dwarf 505. This add-on is not so much a campaign bonus, but mainly an in-battle option to discard miracle dice so that units led by characters, the heroines of the Sororitas, can do something extra cool for one moment. That's the battle round where the Emperor may smile on you, if you have enough miracle dice, and you get the right bonus you want. Those are all covered and explained in a separate video. But with the specific battle traits for Sororitas characters and more relics, that gives you more options to work with, telling a story by following all of the units in your army, not limited to one lady who mayhap becomes a saint. And with requisition in the Crusade rules in the Codex, you can change up what your units are. You could start with a Novitiate unit and before a battle turn them into a Dominion squad. They keep the same battle honours they had. If they do badly and choose to lose a battle honour from a failed out-of-action test, then you can make them into a Repentia squad. By completing agendas, you can redeem the unit and get a new elite unit like Sacrosanct or Seraphim unit. They keep all battle traits they got, even if they were from the Penitent-only table. So you could have a redeemed Paragon Warsuit unit that generates a miracle dice whenever they destroy a unit in combat, and they can also perform an extra act of faith per phase. This does stack with the Army of Faith detachment. That is the more fun side of what the sisters can do. That is good storytelling. The Space Marines have something a little bit similar. You can turn some units that are in the reserve companies or the scout company into battle company units. There is no option to turn units into a tactical or devastator marine. Neither can you have or Vanguard veterans. Maybe this is telling us, if not what will go to Legends in future, what was expected to go to Legends at the start of this edition when the Codex was written. The Deathwatch Space Marines can go on one of these Oathsworn campaigns, which is especially nice if you just want to play a small number of games, or if you're playing the Deathwatch in Imperial Agents, or if you have any Imperial Agent character, like an Inquisitor, you get to do a Shadow Operation investigation. There are a lot of tables to roll on and a lot of different steps, but it's quite a fun feeling. You get that heart-racing target priority. Do you deal with the small threats first, or let them unfold to get rid of the bigger threat as soon as possible? Each threat you stop gains you points. Every time you fail to stop one, it reduces your control points. Once all of the threats have either completed their nefarious means or been stopped by you, you get some rewards. If you succeed, they can be super rewards. If you lose, you get punished really badly. You probably lost the games you didn't get investigation points in, and now you get scars on everyone. This will in turn inhibit your ability to complete future investigations. It's Duke of York rules. When you're up, but when you're down. But if you get loads of scars, at least you can take more Crusade Blessings, and one of them allows you to take an extra agenda, and you really have to go heavy on the agendas to complete these investigation missions. But really bad things are only going to happen if you happen to roll the worst threats and you don't stop them. That would be like multiple demon incursions or full-on alien invasions that you aren't able to divert or stop. You can take on an investigation as long as you have at least one agent's character on your roster. So you could be playing Adepta Sororitas and have an Inquisitor, then you could start an investigation. But if that investigation isn't at the forefront of your battles, if you are not making your agenda about the investigation, you are more likely to fail, and then your one subductor squad that you actually use in battles gets a scar. One of the useful requisitions is Inquisitorial Mandate. You don't need to have an Inquisitor in the game, just in your Crusade force. So you could have a lore-accurate Inquisitor who is on the roster but never enters battle. You get to take an additional agenda, and as long as one of your units gains XP from that agenda, you get the requisition point back. One of those agendas is Strategic Excruciation. Kill any unit in combat to get experience. And it's a very valuable requisition if you want to complete your investigation. Like I said, you don't need to include an Inquisitor in battle, just have one on your roster. So a Deathwatch watch company could have a shadowy benefactor they never know about. Using the Deathwatch Auto Xenos detachment to teleport a unit into your enemy deployment zone at the end of the game to score Clandestine infiltration is also a good option. Or if you want quick and dirty hacks, have a rogue trader and get D3 intrigue or influence to try and stop some threats. The difference is they need to take part in the battle. It's a fun mechanic once you get your head around all of the different tables, which really just means you need to read through it every time you finish a battle and complete the steps slowly. I wish there was some final battle part of it, like the Dark Angels have to capture a Fallen. The dice rolls for the agents just happen off screen. Getting to have a big fight representing killing a cult's leadership or foiling a demon summoning ritual would have been nice. But I like that it gives you story hooks as to why your warlord is fighting Imperials or why an Ordo Malleus Inquisitor, who's anti-demon, is fighting a lot of aliens. One of the little relics I like is relic digital weapons called Digital Arsenal. And this can be doubled up on with the enhancement from the Imperialis fleet detachment to have regular digital weapons, because the digital arsenal is for shooting, the digital weapons are for combat, so you can have matching rings. So about them insidious cults and alien threats, the Genestealer Cult. When you're playing Genestealer Cult in Crusade, your units are going to be slow to level up, because any replacement unit you get from Cult Ambush, they don't gain experience as they are replacement units, a one temporarily added to your army, not the one that died before. The one that's dead on the field is the one that gains experience for attendance, but anything that was killed after they died by that equivalent replacement unit, you don't get experience for that. So your Genestealer Cult get a lot of scars because of how easily our units die. The most debilitating scar, I think, is not being able to be joined by characters, because so many, if not all of our units, work so much better if they have characters. Much like the Adepta Sororitas had their own extra upgrades in a White Dwarf magazine, the Genestealer Cult got the same treatment. White Dwarf 507 gave crossfire rules, also covered in its own video, and this is a very powerful ability to get extra buffs when you're attacking the same unit with multiple units, especially when you're combining it with the host of Ascension. And these add-on rules also come with more useful traits, like enemies not getting to fire Overwatch at your unit. Not that there is a shortage of useful traits to upgrade your units in the Codex. The battle traits are fine alternatives to main Crusade book traits. I think the best one is Xenos Savagery, so that your combat units can fight first once per battle. I've never needed to fight first more than once, and it makes your opponent scared to charge those units. Your campaign narrative is that you are slowly gathering your power to overthrow the planet, or to send Genestealers out into the galaxy to make more cults. So there are two different ways to win. Ideally, you try to do one over the other. Either way, you're only gaining something on the roll of a dice. You could win the battle, but then roll 2 afterwards, and so you gain nothing. Progress on it can be very slow. And there is no final day of Ascension battle with lots of benefits, you just win the campaign, and the battles leading up to it were all leading up to the day you no longer have to hide your identity. It kind of makes sense that, for your opponent at least, there isn't one moment where it's like, oh hey, in our random tournament crusade, where you get matched up against someone you've never seen before, they're like, you are the oppressors, we get 7,000 bonuses against you now for this one battle. Wouldn't quite work. But as you near completion to get that Ascension day, it's more likely that the oppressors will notice you, and the next battle is their attempt to crush you, which can see you fail your campaign and gain scars on your leaders. This has a little bit of like a slight tweak in how the rules are worked for that one battle, but it's only a minor bonus and a minor penalty. Paul is back, so we can keep talking about the army-specific campaigns.
Yeah, the Tyrannid one was interesting, because I've got a friend who plays Tyrannids in the Crusade, where it feels like you get basically nothing until you get to like third stage of consumption. Then you could start spending it, and then you suddenly ramp up really quick. It feels like that one is essentially a different scale curve, working with your own group and working out how things work. If one person has gone insanely far ahead, narratively you just say, okay, that they won, they achieved something. Maybe then you do a new campaign where you go, this is now the state of the world because they got so far ahead. Like if you're playing Tyranids and it's like,
and
the Tyranid player is
a bunch of things, and
the Tyranid player is massively ahead. Okay, they took the planet and now everything's retreated.
They ate the continent, move on to the next continent.
This is the thing with Crusaders. Anything where if you're within a group and feel like something is either like going wrong in a certain way or feels like it's not as fun, turn it into a narrative thing, and then you can reset something, make it part of the narrative, and then you're resetting how you're approaching the game by going, oh, the Tyranid player is like super good. We're now redoing things where we'll do the routed prey. The Tyranids are chasing everyone, and then we'll do something, and then
one of the Crusade Blessings you can get is Hellfire Shell. So it's like, we kill Tyranids, good. We've been given the equipment to actually deal with the problem.
Yeah, exactly. You can do a whole lot of stuff with that. It's always collaborative storytelling, which you can always try and work out. Of course, if the Tyranid player is like, no, I want to just keep kicking your ass, then you just go, okay, well that's less. That just sounds like a huge problem.
Yeah, it's like, I think we're done with this Crusade campaign now.
And I think again, Crusade lends itself to that kind of game style. Like, if this was a tournament and the Tyranid player were doing well, you go, well, we said we'd play competitive. The Tyranid player is clearly outclassing everyone. They're just going to win every game. Fine. But with a Crusade game, you still want people to kind of be invested in the narrative. A
tournament is like 1 day or 2 days. Crusade is like months. In theory.
Exactly.
Yeah, is Crusade your main way to play 40k, or do you do like just matched up games with the same points and no Crusade rules?
It fluctuates. So I think probably if you had asked me 3 months ago, yes, like every game I play has been Crusade because we kind of had time for it. Because again, prepping for this tournament and the life stuff happening where we can't really get games together for the Crusade, I've been playing a lot more match play. But it's one of those ones where I think if we're all available and all playing games, probably we'll play Crusade because it's nice to have that narrative and be able to like talk about how things are going and like, oh, I did this in this game, so I've got these upgrades, and then that's really fun. And then I think when there's less of us being able to play and we're kind of getting to games less frequently, or I'm only playing the same person, then we play match play.
Terminology gets weird where it's like match play is equal play but not tournament play, so it has the main rules but not the tournament companion rules.
Using the matched mission packs, the cards and whatever. That's like and then so it's definitely more. It's definitely
where you
kind
get
of
a mission from more than anything else.
Yeah, I feel like when we play Warhammer, it's definitely more of a we're in the Crusade section. These are the Crusade months, and then some people are busy doing whatever. These are going to be the playing with the cards months. Yeah. Oh, everyone's back and we've got some time. Back to Crusade, and then it's kind of that's how we kind of play. I'd say we're still in Tyrannic War. We'll probably just play Pariah Nexus, carry on that way. But it is interesting that because I was kind of surprised when they brought Pariah Nexus out because I was like, that's pretty quick. Like
6 months afterwards, and we've got 18 missions or so. Then there was a year-long gap before Nakmud Gauntlet Crusade book came out, and then it was only a few months later that the Armageddon Crusade book came out.
I feel like there's more like afoot there, not to get too much of a tangent, but I feel like it's one of those things where they're just like either something gone wrong in the plan or something has shifted somewhere where they've gone, we don't have whatever our timeline was, it's not that anymore.
9th edition had 6 Crusade campaigns, so there may be 1 or 2 more campaigns to come out in the next 6 to 8 months. They need to circulate back to ongoing wars, which I'm guessing, but not necessarily, is going to be Chalnath and maybe faith-themed, with like faith mechanics and religion. They've done that before, so they may just want to revisit that again. Revisiting and just doing the same thing again just seems to be how the Games Workshop books go, because they did that with the boarding actions, where it's, we liked these missions from 9th edition, Control-C, Control-V, there's your boarding actions book.
Yes. Yeah, the stuff with like boarding actions that they've done in some of the White Dwarfs have been quite interesting.
I like the White Dwarf ones, because they are new and interesting.
Yeah, there's a really cool mechanic, which was like you put portal tiles down, and you could shoot through the portals. It's like, that's so cool.
It reflects, but I think the way the mechanics work, because I did it, is it's like a mirror, and you bounce the bullets off the mirror.
Oh, right,
because you've got to measure the distance between one portal to the other portal.
Yes, stuff like that is just cool, and I feel like there's some little bits in Crusade which kind of do that, but not as much as like you could get away with in certain narrative things.
You can combine the two, do a boarding actions crusade.
Yeah, exactly. And this is the thing, and like with this stuff is like you can really like start to explore some of this stuff. There was a fun mission I think I saw in White Dwarf, which was like there's an objective which when it's like active or whatever is bad, but then it moves around, and if you're standing next to that objective when it's just before it goes off, you get extra points or something. And then it's like those kind of missions.
They were one of the bunker missions.
Yes, and those kind of missions and those kind of things, like we're thinking about like adding some of those to the Crusade as like extra missions because they're quite fun.
Yeah.
And
I've done that.
Again,
it works. Mostly.
Yeah, exactly. There's got to kind of make sure there's nothing like that's gonna jump out when you go, oh, how's this called? Oh,
I did one of them and it was like, oh yeah, if you control the objective in the center at the end, you get an extra 25 victory points. It's like, well, why was I doing anything else?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But having that kind of, with the cards, it's always like you set up the objectives, you set up the deployment zones, and it's generally like it's like a hold 2, hold more. Maybe there's a couple of little actions you do here and there, and then obviously secondary missions. But with the Crusade missions, they're always very different, which I quite like.
Yes.
There's a lot of variety there, and I think maybe like if people aren't like don't want to like do all the paperwork with Crusade, I'd still recommend just having a look at the Crusade missions and giving them a go because they're interesting.
Exactly the thing that my last video was on. Just play the missions.
Yes, just play the missions.
Have fun with the missions. Recover a magic sword. Don't have to use the magic sword in Crusade. You can give it to your home base. Great, you did a thing. But you played a different mission other than, well, it's 5 objectives on the board, 3 in no man's land, 1 in each player's deployment zone. With slight variations, of course.
Yep, exactly. How do you, this is a question for you, how do you do terrain? Because what we kind of found was just to make things easy on us and to kind of keep things quote unquote fair, we basically just used default, like, from the cards and from the, like, tournament missions, we used those terrains. We use tournament terrain just because it's, like, obviously, I know there's one in Pride Next that says, like, set up the terrain in a certain way because of how the attacker defender is.
Yeah,
but we found that a lot
of... nothing in the middle, or was it lots in the middle?
Paul is bad at finding things on the website. Yeah, there was definitely one which had a like a note that said like when you set up the mission, do it this way.
I'm looking as well.
This is the part of the video where you leave all of this in, and then people go to the bathroom whilst we look. Oh, here we go. Designer's note. We recommend placing a high volume of terrain such as ruins in no man's land and the defender's deployment zone to represent a tight, close quarters battlefield.
Which mission?
Interdimensional clash. So basically, we've not played a mission where deployment zones have a disparity because I don't think there are many of those. There's only one of those, I think, in Tyrannic War, which is the last
where it's
one.
like one person has the 3 objectives in their deployment zone and that's it. That's all the objectives.
Yeah. So we
terrain
usually
just do like. As long as we're both happy, it's fine, and try and get it thematic to the fight we're doing. So it's like, Spore Chimney goes down there, or in Pariah Nexus stuff, if I'm fighting Necrons, which I am, then it's like, okay, we've got the Egyptian terrain, we've got the little pyramid from like Camel Up, stick that on there.
Yeah. I think it's for us, I think it's one of those things where, because we don't play often enough, it's one of the things where it go, well, if we've set the terrain like thematically before and gone, yeah, we're happy with it. But then sometimes we realise part of the game is that, oh, actually, we've realised this terrain's really bad because of something that has caused a real problem. And because we don't play often enough, it's like, well, the easiest way to do it is just to use a terrain layout that we know works. Yeah. That way, at least that kind of takes out that potential of going, oh, we've caused problems, and now the one game we've played in like the past month has gone badly because we didn't do the terrain properly because we missed something. But I think there's definitely we've definitely used like thematic terrain, it's gone fine. Usually the missions are symmetrical anyway. Just chucking that terrain down takes something off our plate. So I was just wondering how if that was something you did, or if you were just kind of chucked stuff down.
Almost randomly. If sometimes it's like we have themed mats, so it's like, oh, this is street, so I make sure the buildings are not on the roads. I've seen other people being like, yeah, I just took them according to this terrain map, and it's like, I see that you've got, a car that's somewhere on a roof, and that building is across a main street, and what's happening?
So that's where you turn your narrative going, blame on. There was someone got very mad and threw a car up there. Sure.
Yeah, and somehow that building seismatically shifted onto the road.
Yeah, a wizard did it. Sure,
a wizard did it. Yeah.
If you ever see anything wrong, a wizard did it.
Right, I've got some like rules questions to suggest how you do these rules.
Okay.
Because there's the Renowned Heroes Requisition, which allows you to add an enhancement to a character. How do you run that for like different detachments? Because you can pick one enhancement from any of the detachments.
Yeah. So the way we've kind of done it is because we've built our lists kind of around a detachment.
Right. So you'd like, I always pick the one detachment.
You usually skew in that way anyway, yeah. So like I'm always playing Vanguard Spearhead because I'm kind of going. That's the vibe I'm going for. That I play my tactics around that. The Tyranny player got a lot of monsters. They're playing Crusher Stampede. But I feel like it's one of those ones because it definitely says like you can pick any of them and you can then change if you want to. You can change the detachment when you play, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, I think the intention is that you have that enhancement regardless of which detachment you're in. I can't see any restrictions on being able to use them, like only in that detachment if you pick a Crusade. Because you pick your army faction, that is because you can have units from anywhere on your Crusade roster, Orcs, Space Marines, Necrons, all on the same roster, but then you pick a faction to be in the game. And you pick a detachment and follow its restrictions, like the Black Templars detachment doesn't let you have Space Wolves or Blood Angels or Dark Angels. If it wasn't allowed, then that character could now never go in any other detachment ever.
Yeah, it's a weird one as well, because with Renowned Heroes, the way the points are is as soon as you start playing a couple of games, that becomes very expensive. The first time you add one, it's not too bad. It's only the one.
Oh yeah, yeah. One requisition.
As soon as you get as soon as you've got 2 upgrades across your entire order, it becomes 3, and it's like that's very expensive very quickly. And then you're kind of, I think at that point, at least where we've played, is like once you're at that point, you're spending 3 RP, you're probably invested into a certain play style.
Okay, never mind how Paul has done it. How does it actually work in Crusade games? How is it working as far as the rules go? And this section is its own video. If you ever need to reference it, there is a quick version. The way you get enhancements in Crusade games, and the only way you get enhancements, is different to regular 40k. There's a lot of assumptions about how enhancements work in Crusade, but very little rules checking goes on, and most people think it is basically like any other 40k game, when it is very different. I want to explain how enhancements are meant to work in the 40k rules for Crusade, even if, like a long-running and generally hated family board game, you know the one, there are so many house rules that it becomes meaningless. Or more like how 40k tournaments each have their own tournament pack that explains the terrain in which rule sets they're using and bans some units. Crusade campaigns can be like that. Each one is different. This video explains how it is in the core Crusade rules, which will give you a baseline to follow, or deviate from. You can't be a deviant if there's no standardization. So let's go over the basic non-Crusade enhancements. You can add up to 3 enhancements to different characters from the detachment that you're playing with the points listed, and then in the next game, if playing a different detachment, you can buy up to 3 of the 4 listed enhancements for that detachment. So in Battle 1, I'm playing Adepta Sororitas in the Army of Faith. I'll have the Litanies of Faith on a Canoness and the Blade of St. Eleanor on the Palatine. Next week, new game, new detachment. I'll have the same units, but I'm going to play the Penitent Host. The Psalm of Righteous Judgment is going on the Canoness, and the Catechism of Divine Penitence is going on the Palatine to let her join Repentia. It then works differently in Crusade games. Enhancements still cost army construction points, but they are permanent upgrades to your characters, like battle honors, but they are not battle honors. That will be important later. But they're like battle honors. So that Palatine upgraded with Catechism of Divine Penitence will always have that enhancement and always cost 70 points. 50 points for the Palatine, 20 points for the enhancement. I don't know if that's going to be different if you're watching in the future. But once added, this enhancement is always there. It doesn't matter if you are not playing the Penitent Host detachment, or if you are playing the Penitent Host detachment, because you can switch detachments between games within your Crusade campaign. Whatever detachment you're playing, your Palatine keeps the Catechism of Divine Penitence, meaning that you can have some pretty cool cross-detachment combos, and that Palatine can always join Repentia and give them lethal hits. So the Canoness on your order of battle could have the Litanies of Faith and always try to get more Miracle Dice. That's great for giving the Bringers of Flame detachment a bit more Miracle Dice support, even though the enhancement was an Army of Faith detachment enhancement. The way you add enhancements to your characters is not picking one at the start of the battle or at the start of the campaign. At the very start of your crusade, you have your 1000 points order of battle and 5 requisition points. You can spend one of those requisition points to add an enhancement to one of the characters. This is any enhancement they can take from any detachment. Explicitly, even though you have not picked a detachment because you are not making an army. So as long as it is an enhancement that character could have, you can have it. A Hospitaller could have Divine Aspect, but could not have Litanies of Faith because that is for Palatines or Canonesses models only. This does let you do a cool thing with Inquisitors and Imperial Knights. As an example, they can take enhancements from their respective codex as enhancements described within any detachment rules they can use, even though you have not generated an army, not picked a faction keyword, or chosen detachment. So the Inquisitor could have the Universal Anathema from the Ordo Xenos Alien Hunters detachment, as they are an Imperial Agents character, and would normally be able to have access to that detachment. That is a detachment they have access to. That is an enhancement they could use, so they can have the Universal Anathema. Remember that your order of battle is not required to have one faction keyword. You can have loads of different faction keywords on your order of battle, but when you come to make an army list, you have to have one faction, with exceptions for units like the Inquisitors from Imperial Agents and the Knights because of the Codex Knights ability. The Freeblade ability states you cannot give a Freeblade an enhancement. That is difficult because when you gave the Knight an enhancement, it was not a Freeblade. The Freeblade rule operates under the assumption that you are adding a Knight to your army for a standard 40k game, where you add enhancements in step 5 when you construct an army. The Crusade rules add enhancements way before that, so it already has enhancements before becoming a Freeblade to be used in another faction army. And I don't know which rule would win out, as we're not giving an enhancement to any model that is a Freeblade, or if a model has an enhancement, can it not become a Freeblade? I'm pretty sure that the Freeblade rule was written with regular 40k in mind, and you will have to pick a side in your Crusade campaign to allow or disallow it. For extra confusion, there is a Freeblade Sworn Allegiance in the Imperial Knight Crusade rules, which can have enhancements when you're playing it in Imperial Knights, and this has absolutely nothing to do with allying into other factions. Many contradictions for you to sort out. But if you allowed enhancements, one of those knights could have the Vengeful Tread to tank shock their enemies for free. These enhancements will work regardless of detachment you play, but enhancements that work within one particular detachment are not going to be very useful elsewhere, so it is usually best to pick generic enhancements. Augury Halo refers to defensive line. You only have a defensive line when playing the Gate Warden Lance detachment. If you are not playing that detachment, or plan to never use that detachment, this is a waste of an upgrade. Similarly, don't give a Genestealer Cult Primus in Human Integration from Final Day unless you want to always play Final Day, because in every other detachment you can't have Tyrannid units. So there will never be Tyrannids within 6 inches. Much better to take Deeds That Speak to the Masses from the Xenocreed Congregation. A Primus can take that, and 2 more Resurgence points will be valuable in every game that Primus is included in. Remember, the enhancement does not fall off or do nothing if you play a different detachment to the one it came from. A lot of people assume it does, incorrectly. That is because there is a different limit on enhancements. In the army construction, you don't get to add the enhancements based off the detachment you picked. That would almost totally undo the whole use requisition points to add enhancements, which also increases the model's points value. So we've added one enhancement to the first character in our army. The next enhancement you add to your order of battle, or the first if you didn't want to start the crusade with an enhancement from renowned heroes right away, the way you add more enhancements is to level up more characters. When you level up, normally you can take a random battle trait or pick a crusade relic, but instead you can use renowned heroes to give a character an enhancement as they level up. You can select one enhancement that unit has access to. If using this requisition when the unit gains a rank, this is instead of gaining a battle honor. But you can't use this requisition on a character that already had an enhancement. You are still locked to one enhancement per character. As normal, you cannot select an epic hero unit, but also you cannot pick a character that has either the Disgraced or Mark of Shame battle scars. Heroes out of favour don't get to carry cool relics. But if you had the enhancement and then got the Disgraced scar, you don't have to give up the enhancement, just that a disgraced character cannot be given an enhancement. This requisition costs 1 requisition point, plus 1 additional requisition point for each other enhancement that your Order of Battle contains, to a maximum of 3 requisition points. Not a maximum of 3 enhancements. So to use it the first time, it costs 1 requisition point. The second time, it will cost 2 requisition points, 1 point to use it and 1 point because you already have 1 enhancement on the Order of Battle. The third enhancement will cost 3 requisition points, 1 for using it, 1 for the first enhancement already there, 1 for the second enhancement already there. It will still cost 3 requisition points for the 4th enhancement and 3 requisition points for the 5th enhancement. In regular, let's call it match play 40k, you can only have 3 enhancements. After that, the bar staff equivalent look at you and say, "We're cutting you off. Your enhancement addiction has gone too far." So you can never take more than 3 enhancements in a battle, that is the limit. Crusade is different. Crusade is more supply and demand. 1 enhancement, sure, that costs 1 requisition points and some army construction points. A second, that is more demand, they now cost 2 requisition points until the market levels out at 3 requisition points. So can you have 4 or 5 enhancements in your Order of Battle? Yes, you can. Can you have the same enhancement appear twice, either in an army or on an Order of Battle? Surprisingly, yes. Each enhancement included in your army must be unique is the core rules step 5 for selecting units. That line doesn't appear in step 5 of mustering a Crusade army or any other step in mustering a Crusade army. That is not a limit that is placed on you. And unlike Crusade relics that state you can't have more than 1 relic more than once on your Order of Battle, there is no mention of not being able to take the same enhancement twice in the requisition. So you can have the same enhancement on several different characters within your Order of Battle list of available units, and you can have the same enhancement more than once in your army. That is a lot of units that have +2 to their charge rolls, with all of our time is nigh. It's really, really nigh. So you can do this, but probably shouldn't. It feels like a rules oversight. And so most Crusade campaigns run with, no, you can have 3 enhancements on your Order of Battle, or you can't have more than 3 enhancements in any one game, or you can't have the same enhancement twice, either in a game or Order of Battle. However you want to run your campaign. But in the rules, there's nothing to stop you having the same enhancement twice or having the same enhancement twice in a game. Right, so you added an enhancement to a character, your points have gone up. Does the Palatine's Crusade points cost go up when the character gains an enhancement? No. These are not battle honors. You get them instead of a battle honor, like a battle trait or a Crusade relic. Battle honors, like Crusade relics and battle traits, state that you increase your Crusade points by an amount, usually by 1. Some Crusade relics increase it by more. Crusade points are a way to balance out the armies with their extra abilities, but with enhancements, you do not increase your Crusade points because you are paying in army construction points and requisition points, not Crusade points that determine the Crusade value of a unit. But understandably, most people see it as a permanent upgrade you get upon leveling up and assume it increases your unit's Crusade points, but it doesn't. They are not battle honors. So they also don't count towards the max 6 trait upgrade your character can have, because they're not battle honors. You purchase them instead of getting a battle honor. Another aspect of not being a battle honor, you can't lose enhancements. If you roll a 1 on a dead unit after the battle and fail the out of action test, you cannot lose the enhancement as part of a devastating blow. You can only choose to lose a battle honor, and what are enhancements not? So devastating blows won't remove your enhancements. You also can't choose to lose the enhancement. In the main Crusade rules, you can't choose to not have a certain upgrade anymore. Even though, I want to drop this, can I drop this, please let me drop this, is a common house rule allowance for the campaign. Otherwise, the only official way to remove an enhancement is to remove the character from your Order of Battle and add a new one without the enhancement, but this new, suspiciously similar looking character would have also lost any battle traits or scars. And they can't gain a new enhancement until they level up. So we know that enhancements are not battle honors, but can they stack with battle traits? If the enhancement replaces a weapon, that Crusade relic or weapon upgrade would be lost, but very few of the enhancements replace weapons in 10th edition. The Blade of St. Eleanor sounds like it does, but it just gives you a stat increase. Same as Through Suffering Strength, the enhancement formerly known as St. Eleanor's Blade. If you go back to the index, because that's what it was called in the index. Same thing, Hallowed Martyrs, but it's got a new name now and the St. Eleanor's name went to the Army of Faith. Why would one stat improvement be allowed but another similar one would not? Most things that are explicitly not stackable with battle trait upgrades are Crusade relics, like this one from Crusade Armageddon. The Weapon of Renown is stated to be a Crusade relic. Other relics and battle traits don't have that, so you can stack the Patriarch's Vector Talon and the Biosanctic Brood Surge Enhancement Biomorph Adaptation to have AP-4, damage 4 melee attacks on your Patriarch. And so you could also upgrade the Patriarch's Claws with a weapon modification. Does that sound unbalanced, or does that sound fun? Some people don't like this way of adding enhancements. It stops you taking some enhancements just to round out the points. 5 points spare, sure, I will have the Genesire's Reliquant. Nope, not in Crusade. So some player groups ignore the rules to do what they find fun and play it like normal 40k and add the enhancements you want from the detachments you are playing. Especially if you're doing a crusade to do a tour of the codex and try out all the detachments to find out what is on offer. Especially when the Tyranids can play a very thematic continuation through the detachments as they infiltrate, invade, and then consume. Other people play only one detachment through their crusade campaign and are happy to only take enhancements from that detachment. And this is how Paul plays it.
Some of the rules sometimes feel like they're there in like very, very long, like lots and lots of things. Because if you suddenly realize, if you have like a very long running mini game campaign that like lasts the 6 months of the book, that you're playing like, you know, multiple times a week, you could have an army roster that's like 5,000 points like large.
Potentially.
Then maybe you're going, okay, well now I've got kind of specialized characters, which if I'm doing this detachment, I'll take that specialized character. Maybe that's where, you know, those people are coming from, where they're going, like, if you choose that. But from as rules as written.
Yes, as best we can interpret the intention behind the rules.
Yeah,
it's a better way of thinking it.
And again, it's one of those ones where I think it's very much a kind of, I don't think you're gonna be hard pressed to find something where enhancement from a detachment and using it in a different detachment than it's meant to, that's going to cause a massive amount of problems.
Genestealer Cult, you can use the better version of this enhancement from Xenocreed rather than the Ascension Day one, even if you're only planning to just do Ascension Day. Balance is a bit looser in Crusade, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, look, when you're able to have a lone operative knight, I'm pretty sure maybe being able
anything else pales in comparison.
Yeah, when you're able to lead Repentia and you're not using the Repentia thing, maybe that's fine if you can have a lone operative knight, for God's sake. So I'm pretty sure...
It was the counter to lone operative knight, in fact.
Yeah. Once you get to that level, it's like, yeah, the amount of like absurd stuff in this game, like later artifacts, are absurd. And it's one of those things where it's just like, you look at them and go, okay, well, at that point, balance is already out the window, so you might as well have some fun with it. And if using different detachment like upgrades in different detachments is fun, then, you know, have fun.
Have fun. Have fun is the right attitude.
Exactly. I'm trying to think what a legendary relic. Start your command phase, select from friendly model on the battlefield, select one aura, and then the bearer of the relic has an aura. You can start to see that melee attacks ignore invuln saves as a legendary relic. Each time the bearer makes a melee attack, invulnerable saves cannot be made. So that's the level we're playing with.
For 10th edition, that's quite a big thing, because 9th edition, that was like, oh yeah, by the end of it, everyone had at least one thing that ignored invulnerable saves.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I forgot that in 9th, the Magna Rail from Votann not only had like basically devastating wounds, but then when it did, it ignored invuln saves as well.
Yeah,
and it just like straight up did mortal wounds. It's like, Jesus, that's it
was the spilling over kind of mortal wounds. So it was
spilling over, no invuln.
Marines.
He was like, oh, all right, calm down, Votann. They've definitely dialed that back, which is good.
Generally, 10th edition is dialed back, and I like that. I do like that. There's no reason to keep escalating between editions.
Yeah. side
40k
grade.
has that anyway. It's like, oh, look at these Cadians, they're extra cool. Then look at these Kazakin, they're extra cool. Then look at these Stormtroopers, they're extra cool. And then there's the Space Marines, which is so elite. And then the Custodes are even more elite than the elites.
Yes. And then the pinnacle. There's nothing higher than that's the one thing they introduced. It never got better than that, and that's why I think Space Marines aren't doing so well in like the meta game right now. They just can't make anything better.
Yeah, was it introduction of and then Primera straight after that? It's like, oh, we just went off a cliff. Yeah,
they're like, we can't get any better. We'll have to get an entirely new branch of Space Marine. So basically, what I'm saying is, are the solution and cause of all problems in the 41st millennium, which is why they're the best.
I'd love to do a narrative game with you where it's like, I have taken over the armor production factory, and you'll have to try and take it back.
All of my entire army just has. They're just so angry. They're too angry to die until they get that back. We need that.
Workers want
get
more pay.
We're gonna charge at you very slowly, but when we get there, you're gonna be sorry. So don't just wait there. Don't move. We're coming. Stop. Don't. Oh no, you're running away 5 inches at a time. Oh no, come back.
Yeah, orcs and necrons outrunning you.
Yeah.
You could have both necrons and orcs on your order of battle if you wanted. I should talk about allies and where faction limits come in. It is not for your crusade force, the units in your order of battle. The limit comes when you pick some of those units to be in a crusade army for the battle. So the order of battle is every unit you want to include in your crusade that you've added to your order of battle up to the supply limit, and they can be from multiple factions. The point where you pick your faction is not when you add a unit to the order of battle, it's before a battle itself. Maybe your narrative is based around the Wars for Armageddon, and you have Black Templars and Space Wolves and Armageddon Steel Legion. One battle you could play the Imperial Guard, level them up. Next battle you play Space Wolves and help to level them up, but you're unlikely to do this right at the start with 1000 points as your whole order of battle. Aside from narrative, the other reason to mix factions on your order of battle is allies in a game. Add an Imperial Knight to be a Freeblade, and an Inquisitor on a roster that is otherwise Adepta Sororitas units. Your Crusade army, the units used in the coming battle, must be a legal army, and that is where you have the step to choose one faction keyword. So you follow the rules, like you can only make your army from one faction, so you can't have Space Wolves and Imperial Guard together. If you had Space Wolves and Black Templars as that idea, you could use units that appear in both of those armies, like the Rhino. You can't mix factions, which a Rhino gets around by being an Adeptus Astartes Rhino. So that will work for the Space Wolves, which are Adeptus Astartes, and some of their units also are Adeptus Astartes Space Wolves, and it'll work in the Black Templars army, which are Adeptus Astartes. Some of their specific units are Black Templars Adeptus Astartes. You don't have to add a sub-faction chapter-specific keyword to units the way you had to in 9th edition. And it doesn't matter what color it is painted. Paint scheme doesn't determine chapter or faction. This idea wouldn't work for an Imperial Agents Rhino, which has the Imperial Agents keyword and can only transport Imperial Agents units. And you could only include that if you had the Assigned Agents rule, okay? So an Adepta Sororitas Rhino. That couldn't be used in a Space Wolf army because mutants and mutant-killing ladies do not mix. One faction only. The Imperium keyword is not a faction keyword. Only the words in the bottom right are a faction keyword. Check each datasheet. Then the exception to that is all of the detachments and faction abilities that get around this, as with normal 40k. You can take Tyranid units in any Genestealer Cult Final Day detachment. Imperial Agents can ally a certain number of their units out to other Imperium factions. All good and normal. The reason you may not want Tyranids on your otherwise mainly Genestealer Cult Order of Battle is because you can only use those Tyranid units in your games if you are playing the Final Day detachment. If playing the Host of Ascension or the Xenocreed Congregation, the Tyranids can't come. As an idea, you could mainly play Tyranids, but have some Genestealer Cult units on your Order of Battle to sort of do the ally thing in reverse. Normally you play Invasion Fleet, but for your next game you fancy the Final Day, which is a Genestealer Cult detachment, so you bring out those Genestealer Cult units, you're playing faction Genestealer Cult for this battle, so you take the Genestealer Cult units from your Order of Battle, and the allowed Tyranid units within that detachment, like the Gargoyles and the Raveners, which you have been leveling up the whole time. No Hive Tyrant allowed, unless it's a Flying Hive Tyrant, and no Tyranid Genestealers allowed. Genestealers and Pure Strain Genestealers are two totally different units, obviously. Did the Ordo Xenos teach you nothing before the Mind Wipe? Actually, it wouldn't matter if they told you before the Mind Wipe. But those Tyranid creatures could have Codex Tyranid enhancements, as they are enhancements they have access to, even though the detachment you are currently playing requires you to pick Genestealer Cult as your army faction. Okay? Okay. I had just seen some people say, oh, well, if you're playing Crusade, you have to have everything as one faction on your order of battle, and you don't. It's the weird mix of Crusade Force and Crusade Army. Those are different things. Crusade Force doesn't have to have one faction keyword. Crusade armies do, apart from all of the exceptions we just mentioned. So let's wrap up this video now with some last few rules questions about Crusade.
Sure.
If a unit's destroyed but comes back immediately, like Celestine, Genestealer Cult Abominate, and Captain Artemis, do you think they should take an out-of-action test at the end of the game?
I don't think so. I feel like with those characters, the idea is they're not gone because they come back. They don't go into reserves, do they? Or do
they just get back up immediately.
They just get back up.
But they count as being destroyed. But I think the ruling on like battle scars and things is if they're destroyed at the end of the game.
With anything like obviously when you use something like reinforcement stratagem, that is they are dead. They are a new.
Yeah, that is a new unit.
But that's
a
completely different thing. But yeah.
But it's like stratagems, like a Necron character getting back up.
Yeah, I feel like with that, it's more thematic. They're characters that are kind of meant to do that, and characters I think can have a bit of leniency. Let's have a look. So all models that are destroyed at the end of the battle, it says.
Yeah.
Are restored. This represents the unit replenishment numbers. But each Crusade army that is destroyed. So I guess it's not about multiple suffer damage. When a model is destroyed, it's removed from battle. When every model in the unit is destroyed, the unit is destroyed. Yeah.
You can read it both ways. You can read it as like, oh yeah, if they were destroyed in the battle, or if they're destroyed at the end of the battle. Yeah, but it still counts as destroyed for rules purposes, for like scoring victory points and stuff.
Yeah, so you get the victory points for killing it, obviously.
Yes.
But I think that is different to being destroyed at the end of the battle.
I think that's probably fair. Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of like spending a command point in the Hallowed Matters detachment. Your canonist gets back up, fights the rest of the battle, and then collapses from exhaustion afterwards and gets a battle scar. Either way.
Yeah.
However you want to do it, I guess.
What's more narrative? If, let's say, Saint Celestine gets back up...
Well, she can't get battle scars, but let's say a Genestealer Cult Abominate, which can...
Yeah, let's say they get back up and then they absolutely tear through stuff. Then it's like, okay, they don't get a battle scar because basically that's their second phase. You basically got into phase 2 and then you failed at phase 2.
The new health bar was unlocked.
Yeah, if they get back up and kind of stumble over and do a little bit, then maybe you go, okay, that Abominant.
Yeah, walking.
It managed to crawl away, but maybe it gets maybe it has to take the chance at a scar.
Yep.
But again, that's the thing. Is obviously it's a 1 in 6 chance, which for me sometimes feels like 1 in 2.
And even less because you might get a one that's not even bad.
Yeah, and then it's 1 in 6, and it's a 1, and then it's a whatever in 6 about being good or bad. But however people kind of want to rule it themselves, I would say for those, I think it's fine that if they get back up, it's all right because they only get back up with their. What does Celestine get back up with?
They're all on 2+.
Full wound. 2+ full wounds, but it's only
except for Artemis, he gets
wounds.
back up in 1 wound, which is sad.
Yeah, I mean he a sneeze will knock him back over. So if this was a Crusade, you go, okay, we've got to try and now go into the weeds of FAQs and all this.
Yeah.
But then you just look at it and go, what's more fun?
Yes. Yeah. I don't need a TR. We just go with fun. Right. That is all of the questions and things I had. Would you like to plug your channel?
Sure. You can find me at Paul is Bad at Stuff on YouTube and on Twitch sometimes, but that's just Paul Bad at Stuff on Twitch. And that's all where I am. I don't really have any other socials because I'm a boomer.
Yeah, that's sensible. I have a Twitter account, but I don't do anything there.
Yeah, I don't have a Twitter account. I have a Facebook account. I don't even know what TikTok is at this point. So yeah, YouTube, Paul is Bad at Stuff. I make videos about being bad, which is really nice. So I don't actually have to try anything. And thank you for having me on your show as well.
Mediocrity.
Yes, swimming in mediocrity. But thank you for having me on the show. It's a lot of fun. Really nice chat.
It is most welcome.
Nice to talk about Crusade.
Yes.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this video turns out because I can't see how big or small I am. But it'll be funny to see how this works. It might be quite silly.
I've just popped you up onto the tip money button so that people can be like, Paul advocates for tipping Von Carmian.
Yes, Paul advocates paying vampires. Bribe a vampire so they don't get you. And I have no neck, so.
Thank you, everyone, for blah, 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 blah. Have a great day of 40k.
Yeah, just like me. But every time I end a video, I'm like, thank you very much for watching all that good YouTube stuff.